Let's start this video off with a true statement. Counterpunching, it's sexy. There's something about reading your opponent and then preparing and executing a counterpunch that looks so beautiful when it's done well. Some of the guys in the gym, you might know them as counterpunchers. You know, that's their main staple. They're very good at lulling their opponent to sleep and reacting and defending. This type of fighter takes your errors and they execute and capitalize on them. So for my fellas that want to be better counter fighters, that want to improve that portion of the game, I got 3 quick tips for you on how to set up counters. Firstly, I feel like it's important to break down the steps of landing an effective counter. I would say that you could break it down into 4 separate steps. Step 1 is just reading your opponent. Whether that's off of a combination or punch that you threw, whether that's off of a feint, maybe it's off of a setup, some way we need to read our opponent so that we know, or at least we think we know, what they're going to do. Step 2 is to trigger the attack. Whether that's you purposely putting something out there that they'll bite on, or waiting for something that you know they're going to throw so that you can trigger that attack, go right to step 3, which is to react. And by react, I'm talking about defending the punch or the combination. Whether you're slipping, catching, defending with a block or a roll, it doesn't matter. It's not a counter punch if you get hit 3 times by the time you return 1 punch. You need to defend, and then step 4, attack, to execute, to capitalize. Now that we quickly ran through those 4 little steps, we'll move on to the tips. If you guys want to see a video talking more about counterpunching, breaking it down, going further into those steps that I just quickly put together, absolutely, I'll do it. Just let me know in the comments below. So option number 1 is going to come to you as no surprise. You're probably going to hate hearing it, but one effective way to set up a counter is using your jab. Now, what do I mean by this? Okay, obviously the jab isn't the counter. The jab is your bait. The jab is your hook. And if we can get our opponent to read our jab and to think, oh, I got the timing down, I got their speed down, I know when they're going to throw it, maybe we give some sort of telltale sign to let them know, then they think, I'm going to react off it, I'm going to counter it. Here's the fun part. They think they're going to counter, and realistically, we're going to counter. So this comes back to last week's video talking about tempo, why we don't always need to be throwing shots at 100% speed and 100% power. Sometimes deception can be your friend. So throw a light, loose jab out there. Throw something that they're going to bait on and react. And as soon as they bite, you need to be quicker. You need to know what you're trying to do because reaction alone isn't going to get you there. These counter fighters that are slipping and then hitting with something, maybe they're pivoting off, maybe they're blocking it and then they're rocking their opponent, it doesn't matter. They have that set up before they go in, and then they drilled it, and they drilled it. And they drilled it, and they drilled it, and we could go down this list where I say they drilled it 1,000 times. But you guys have to understand that this is something you need to practice. This is something you need to drill, and then when you're in the moment, you need to be prepared to execute that exact plan. Counter fighters aren't just some time-traveling warpers that are just slicker than you and faster than you. You can catch up to them. So bring us back around using the jab. Throwing it out there, maybe throwing it at their gloves, maybe throwing it at their head, maybe throwing it at their body. Either way, whatever makes them react in a way that allows you to set up the counter and throw the counter that you want to throw, go for it. This video is about setting up counters. I'm not telling you what combination to throw. You guys already know that I don't do combinations. I don't like that. One specific combination is not going to get you the KO, but we're not here for that. Let's put it on the back burner and we'll bring it up another day. Last thing I want you guys to keep in mind for this jab counter, let's say, that if you don't get it, if it doesn't land, if you don't get your shot off, all you do is defend and then you get out, that's okay. You didn't get hit. The only problem is when you do get hit in these interactions. If you slip it, pivot off, and you're out of there and you didn't get hit, that's okay. Now you still got it in your pocket. You can still use that counter. Smart fighters don't make mistakes twice. So once you use a card, that's usually your card that you played. You can't get it back. Countering is about finding the fine line between opportunities and timing, putting them together and executing within that window. Option number 2 is to put yourself in a defensive posture, but a bad one. This is where we want you in that high guard position. If you can exaggerate the space between your elbows and your hips just enough to leave your body open to draw them in, you can use this to your advantage. Often when people throw punches to the body, for some reason they lunge for it. And I get it, I'm just as guilty of it, especially when I throw a jab to the body. That's something that I'm doing, that's something that I'm working on through drills. But this can be the perfect opportunity to draw them into a body shot. With all that weight in the front leg, where are they going to go? So, draw them into your body. Open up a little bit. Show them that whatever they throw upstairs, they're not going to land. Make them think that that's their target. Now, I'm saying this point in a way that I'm giving you an option. But realistically, point number 2 is all about giving your opponent what they want. Giving your opponent an easy option, something that they see and they're like, oh, I'm going to take that. And then countering it. You convince your opponent to do what you want so that they're in the position that you want them to be so that you can hit your counter off. And then once you're done with that, we got to get out. Or we need to clinch up, or we need to protect ourselves. There's no point in throwing punches and sitting there and observing them, getting stuck in that spot. Get your work in and get out. Last on the list, and for no reason at all, I want you to play lazy. I want you to look tired. I want you to look bad. I want you to look sloppy. If your opponent's smart enough, they're going to read this and they're going to know now is the time for them to go in. Now is an opportunity that you're weak and they're going to be expecting complacency, and in turn, they're going to be complacent. It's simply a disposition feint. You're giving them a base to read off of, and then you're exposing their vulnerability, and then you're executing it. Oftentimes what I've noticed in sparring is if I see my opponent is tired, he's hurt, he's gasping for air, maybe his arms are going down, I'm going to turn up the pressure. Maybe he's trying to use his footwork to put some distance between us, put some insurance between us so he can get a breath. I'm going to react off of that. I'm going to step in and put the pressure on him. Because usually these are the times that they're not throwing punches. And this works really good with your guys that like to throw these big overhands, that like to throw these big hooks, and they see that weakness, they move in. Maybe they throw a jab, maybe they throw a feint, maybe they use something to dress it up. But if that big shot comes, now's your time to read it and react. Steps 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are just 3 simple ways to set up counters. They're just some options for you guys. There's no, this is the best way to do it. This is the 100% foolproof way to land your counters. This is simply just some options. Remember, being a good counter fighter does not mean that you're waiting for your opponent to throw and then reacting off of it. You're putting your opponent into a position that works best for you, that's advantageous for you, and then you're defending, executing your attack, and then moving or putting yourself into a good position. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps out the algorithm, which in turn helps me. And until next time, thanks for tuning in to Punch Club.